Hello.
Hi.
This is Tim and Pam Scarborough on the Worcestershire Way, following Eddie's advice to use mince pies for fuel. Got the tea with us as well. Welcome to the Tea and Trails podcast with Eddie Sutton and Gary Thwaites. Have a good one, everybody.
Thanks, Harrier Trail Running, for sponsoring this week's interview. Harrier Trail Running is a UK-based trail running brand focused on creating quality, functional and affordable gear for people who love running off-road, from beginners to ultra-distance runners. Their range includes race vests, hydration packs, poles, waterproofs and other gear designed specifically for you to use on the trails and in changeable outdoor conditions. We love Harrier Trail Running at Tea and Trails as they truly emphasise inclusivity and community, helping runners of all levels feel welcome and confident to explore the trails. The XMiles 2.5 layer waterproof jacket is a trail running waterproof jacket built for runners who keep moving whatever the weather. Weighing from just 236 grams, this lightweight waterproof jacket delivers serious protection without slowing you down. Perfect for long training sessions, mountain trails and ultra distance races, all for £94.99.
Did you notice Debs' reel of us running in the Ockhills and me and the incredible...
I keep saying it every time I turn on Instagram.
It's gone it's like something like 12,000 people have watched me.
Viral.
I think it's the jacket mixed with incredible good looks. But it didn't rain. Don't come at me. It was the most freezing wind I think I've ever run in, but it was incredible with a soft, like a, not a soft shell, but I had like a sort of downish jacket underneath, and I've got the size small, and it was big enough to then wear over the top of that. And what I absolutely love, it feels really covering, but I am loving the hood. I love the hood because I could get it right over my hat and then just my little piggy eyes poking out, just keeping the warm, cutting off the warm. So I'm excited to get the Pro one and get wearing that as well. And it will definitely be my waterproof of choice. I'm going to have both of them ready for Northern Traverse, whatever the weather throws at us. I've got a story about my long run, about getting across this bridge before they blew it up today. But as I did that, I'll save it for the podcast. The guy said, "You're brave running on your own," as I ran past him.
Well, that's not creepy.
That's not creepy in the middle of the moors where I'm the only person around. There's like 10 workmen. I was like...
Goodness me.
I'm getting in a Garmin InReach. I'm never going to again. Anyway, if you'd like to save 10% on your purchase from Harrier, then use the code TEASE10 for 10% off site-wise, or check out their brilliant tail bundles for a special 20% off. We are so happy to have Anthony, founding member, CEO of XMiles. We share a little bit about his running journey, beginning back in 2007. What a journey that was, and then what a journey it's been setting up XMiles, taking the leap to set up a business as well as having a family and another full-time job on all the jobs, the side hustles he said had, and now then running a very successful e-commerce business in XMiles. We could have chatted all day. He was a brilliant guest. So much information about nutrition, but also we absolutely loved talking to him about his day's marathon training. Gary was frothing.
I love the story, from smoking tabs to crushing comrades.
What is amazing about these people that come on the podcast and say, "I never ran 30. If they'd never run, they would never know they had that talent.
Yeah.
Like, how many people are out with their vape smoking that you could go, you could run a sub 2:30 marathon. Amazing. Loved his story. Loved hearing more about XMiles business. And I think you're going to enjoy it too. Here's our chat with Anthony.
Would you prefer skiing or running these days, Anthony?
To be honest, I've quite enjoyed skiing since not kind of worrying about competing. I used to spend years of being very kind of cautious of what I was doing when I was skiing, just to make sure. Yeah. So basically kind of just doing what the kids do. And I guess the last couple of years has been a bit nicer just to kind of actually go out and enjoy yourself. And it doesn't actually matter if you may hurt yourself a little bit, because it's not going to affect anything else. I think it's just taking the pressure off, isn't it? When you're competing, there's a lot more pressure not to do anything to yourself to hurt yourself.
I see mates who still play five-a-side, and I see it pop up in their Strava, and I just cringe, just like, oh my goodness me, any kind of unplanned movement.
I think football is higher risk than skiing.
Yeah,
I never even thought of injuring myself skiing. I just was like conceited. I was like, I'm going to hurt myself.
Yeah. No, well, actually, I've played football in the last 12 months with like the dads from school with five-a-side stuff. I've had more injuries in that period of time than going forward. Part of it from being totally off pace and not, it doesn't matter how
It's the
fit you are,
hamstrings. No, it's the hamstrings, isn't it?
everyone's expecting you to be able to run all around the place, and then suddenly you're going,
This is it.
I can't move. I've never used that muscle in like 15, 20 years.
My husband played a lot of football when he was younger, and then he started playing for the vets team, and he used to have to go like 45 minutes early before the game and go through like a whole warm up and like go down, like start gentle jog and then slowly, because he's like, I just can't do it. I can't start at the pace that they start. I haven't got any sprint.
Yeah.
Do you watch Traitors, Anthony? We every week we chat about Traitors.
I don't know. Sorry, I don't actually watch much TV because I just don't really get time. And plus, I haven't got a house at the moment, which.
Okay. This is XMiles, people. You need to, guys, we need to use that code. What's happened?
I've knocked my house down, and now it's been crap weather, so no one's rebuilding it.
Yeah, because you would have had the brunt of Storm Goretti, is that right?
Yeah, a little bit of that, but it's either been frozen or it's been raining, so they can't lay bricks apparently. So that's it.
I've done a bit of research too, Anthony, on your Instagram. You're a Southampton fan. How's the? Well, I can kind of predict what your answer's going to be, but yeah, how's your reflection on the season so far?
We've gone through. This is absolutely awful. We might be all right now. Oh no, we're still awful. So I've been to many games on and off with my dad and my brother and bits like that. We kind of every year have been to like 6 or 7 games. My eldest is 19 now and he works full time and things like that. So I bought him and me a season ticket and we go, that's our thing now. So we go to football. So it's for more than anything, I spend the afternoon with my eldest, so which is quite nice.
Because you then would have went to the Dell. Do you prefer the Dell or St. Mary's?
Well, no, I prefer St. Mary's. St. Mary's is good, but I do remember the Dell. It's been, yeah.
And who's your biggest rival? It's got to be. At the
moment, I don't know. I would have said, yeah, Portsmouth is the biggest rivalry. Yeah.
Does that get a bit hairy? Those matches? Is they're like, yeah.
There was actually, because it's not happened for years. So this year was the first time it's happened, and they basically shut off the whole of Southampton, and they had all the supporters from Portsmouth coming, the coaches. They went out off the coaches.
I was joking. Oh my god!
Yeah.
Oh, it's a big deal.
Yeah. For Pompey and Saints is probably there has been some history, and actually the cities don't like each other because they blame each other for economical hardship back in the ports and things like that. So they blame each other for a lot of stuff. So
I love a grudge. I love that I carried on.
I've seen the geography. Portsmouth could pretty much stop ships going to Southampton, so they've got a strategic advantage. And I think you're right. I think maybe the Newcastle-Sunderland rivalry, probably one of the biggest in the country, bigger so than the Manchester derby and the Liverpool derby, because they share a city, while yourself and Portsmouth, they don't have that. You're going to go on Saturday then, see Hull?
Yeah. We've got a new goalie. That's probably the only good thing.
That's a big journey for Hull fans, though. My goodness me, what's that? It's going to be like a 500-mile round trip.
There's always like, we got 32,000 capacity. There's always like 27 to 32,000, depending on how many away fans there is. It's always a good atmosphere there.
I've been to this St. Mary's quite a few years ago now, though. Very good.
Were you one of the fans that got coached in and your picture was on the ticket booth and they were like...
They probably said something about you being from up north. We're quite good at that.
It's basically like there's a bunch of stadiums, isn't there? There's Stadium of Light and there's Middlesbrough's ground, St. Mary's. They just have that kind of template for this bowl full of seats.
Leicester's the same, I think, and there's a few that were built at the same time.
We better get into some XMiles chat. I can talk about football. Should we have a little Splinter podcast, Eddie? We can do a bit of football chat.
No. Please. We don't have enough of that at home. What were we watching last night? Arsenal. What was it? Arsenal-Chelsea?
Oh, Arsenal-Chelsea, yeah.
Oh, and that went on and on. How long are these football matches?
I saw the one before, the Newcastle one the day before, wasn't it? So
I could say much football all day long. Anyway, sorry. We ask all of our guests, where are you? What's the view from your window? And have you been for a run today?
I haven't been for a run today, this is probably the worst thing. I haven't actually been for a run this year, which
Where are we?
I'm quite upset about it and everything, but I have got a new pair of trainers. So
that's a start.
I guess, I'm, as I kind of mentioned a minute ago, I'm homeless at the moment. We're in with the in-laws, and I'm doing a long commute in the morning with a school run and school round pickup and things like that. And I've got all the excuses, but no real excuse for not being able to run.
We can always give excuses.
So I am very much motivated to get running, but I haven't. So I've just got back from skiing, and that's my thing I need to do is get my trainers on.
Oh, yeah, if you were to go for a run, then what's local running like? I'm imagining you've got park runs, cafes, a strong community.
Well, we've got some good park runs, but mainly where my house is just on the edge of Dorset, Hampshire border. So we're right on the edge of the New Forest. So we've got loads of trail, flat trail and things like that. So normally out with the dog, go out there. I've got a nice little morning run group that I run with of people that I can, even when I'm unfit, still make their lives quite a misery, which is all what it's
always
really about.
Good. You make yourself feel good about that, Anthony.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Choose your group, choose your WhatsApp group to join in, depending on your fitness regime.
I've let the ones that are still competing go and run on their own, and I've got a new group of people I like to upset.
Yeah, but it's when they invite somebody, they say, "Oh, can I bring my son's friend along?" And then they're like really smoking fast at like a 16-minute 5K or something. That's when...
Yeah, actually, I did that to them just before Christmas because I'm good friends with Gerda Stern, the ultrarunner. And her husband's got a job from Bournemouth Airport, so they've been down thinking about it. So I said, "Oh, I've got a friend coming for a run this morning," and we met up with her, and then they went, "We've had a look on Strava. We're not overly happy with what you're doing to us this morning."
I love it. And what kind of dog have you got?
I've got a working cocker. She's 2 years old and she is lovely.
That's on my it's on my radar for my next dog, because they look they're fun, they run, but they're also like they're small enough to like get on my lap, warm me up,
and also like she'll run her legs off outside, and then when she comes in, she just sits down and lays there. So it's
for 5 minutes.
She sat under my desk at work as well. So that's so she just happily plods around the office. Hasn't got a sweet tooth for energy gels, which is quite handy. So she doesn't go around stealing anything. So that's quite good.
I'm curious, Anthony. You could have access to all of the nutrition, all of the portions. What is your regime like? I'm chugging along on 20 grams of collagen. Yeah, donuts and collagen. But you could have. Are you taking some magnesium before bed? Are you build up to a race with the beat shots, ketones? I've heard that. I've never tried it.
Yeah. So some of those things are have come in after I've kind of finished competing. So I've kind of got the stuff that I usually use. I do use magnesium. Magnesium does help with my sleep and things like that. Electrolyte tablets is probably some of the things that I have daily now more than anything else, but just because of everything you do, I always don't have enough time to do anything with family and work and everything else. So that's one key thing. When I was competing, I guess it was a little bit simpler than it is now, because there's a lot more choices of what you can do to help. But beat it shots were always kind of a mainstay, it always seemed to work. If it be placebo or not placebo, it always used to work. So I used to do 15 days out. I used to do my beat it shots, probably a bit overkill, but
15 days.
Yeah. Because I used to just buy a box and it's 15 shots, like 15 days. And then just, normal carb load. I was a bit old school as well I used to do full carb depletion. I used to stop eating carbs and do meat and cheese only for 3 days until I felt like I had no energy left in my body, and then load up with carbs before races. And then, and then just lots of carbs really actually not as many carbs because I used to carb deplete and I used to train quite low on carbs. When I used to use fuel, I could then just kind of hit the kind of standard 60, 80 grams of carbs per hour and get a real good boost off it.
Do you think if you were competing now, as you were then, and you'd push those carbs to like 100 and 120?
I'd be so much faster, I know that.
Yeah, should we say that?
Yeah.
Because like for a man of like your stature, 60 is like not like that's you just breathing. That's not enough really, is it?
No, exactly. And I think mainly that was because I used to do so low carb when I was training that I didn't actually have to have as much when I was
so fat adapted.
When I was going,
Yeah.
I guess that we probably could have got benefit. Well, would have probably got benefit from ketone stuff. A part of that low carb thing would have helped me do that without being so much weighing my food and everyone looking at why are you eating that? That's disgusting every day. Hamburgers for breakfast and things like that. Well, I don't know.
Gary's dream.
Sign me up.
Without any of the nice stuff. Well, actually, it was more mince mincemeat rather than hamburgers. And, there's loads of stuff with bicarb and everything else now that you kind of think, well, some benefit to be done there. I did most of my racing flats. I only did my last few races I never ran 100k on the road in anything but racing flats. So.
We went as light as possible, as thin as possible. Our poor legs.
And then you spend it, and then you know why you can't. That's when you couldn't walk up and down stairs afterwards.
When was the day? When did the super shoes come in? I was trying to think about it.
2018, I did the World Championships. They were available then, but I couldn't buy a pair of Vaporflies for love or money. No, they weren't even Vaporflies, and they were they were the
4% or whatever it was.
4%. I was trying to buy those on eBay, and they were about £400 a pair back in 2018, and I just couldn't get my size, so I ended up not having them. It was after 2018 when they were around that's when they started to become more available.
On the mass market. Yeah.
I don't think I own a pair of normal shoes. Oh yeah, I do. Sorry, everything else is
I don't think carbon plated. Actually, once I went to carbon plated shoes, and it was the 4% and the Flyknit ones, which were the cheaper training ones. I don't think I've owned a pair of shoes that aren't carbon since then. So when I used to train at the end of when I was competing, I used to use Vaporfly for training and Alphaflies for racing. Quite an expensive hobby, but
yeah. The thing is, you can't, like, when I used to retire a pair of running shoes, they would be my kind of dog walking shoes. You can't really take the dog for a walk in your Alphaflies.
No, but I used to, I guess after I finished racing them, when I thought they had done with their racing life, I used to kind of wear them until they fell apart I'd wear Alphaflies on the trail, and the carbon was showing in the bottom and things like that. So I got miles out of them. There was no benefit for me running in them apart from me being a little bit tight.
What does a typical week look like for you, Anthony? You're self-employed parent, you're trying to keep fit. I'm just curious, like, how you manage your time, the work and home life balance. I'm pretty shocking, I edit the podcast into the evening. I'll go for a run during the day. Everything's muddled up, and then social media bleeds into every aspect of my life.
So now it has changed very much in my work life cycle in the last 10 years. When I first started XMiles and when I was running more, I basically my priority was running, and my second job was XMiles, and then it's over the time going forward. But now if I'm running, I'm running early in the morning before my wife goes to school, because she's a teacher, and then I kind of do the school run after that and then go forward. So all my running is in the mornings, and then I do weekends depending on thing, maybe an hour or so later, but I think that I'm always up at 6 in the morning or 7 in the morning for something. So even a late start would be a 7:30 run on a Saturday and Sunday. Really, I don't like to go out any later than that because everything's too busy after that. So.
Busy.
I know. If you go out at normal time, there's people that want to talk to you.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's more the fact of it's just you come back and it's like already midday, and then or later, and then there's too many people wanting my time.
How old are your children now, Anthony? Because last time I saw you was the number of laps at Celtic Plate. But I remember, I think you just had 2 children and they stayed in the hotel, and I remember having breakfast and I felt really and I think your kids were there, and you were like, I'm sure they were quite young in high chairs even. I was like, I don't envy him right now. You were like, we've got to go racing, and you're like, eat your eggs.
So my eldest Jasper's 19 in March. He's 18 at the moment. And then Florence is 11 and Teddy is 7.
Okay, so Florence must have been a baby.
Florence was a baby, I think. And Jasper was definitely, I've got pictures of him with me on the finish line and things like that, and bits like that.
Does he remember it? Because my kids don't remember it. I've shown them pictures and they're like, nah, don't believe it.
No, they remember
me.
They remember me running all the time, but I don't think
that's where it stops.
Particular events,
Tell us a little bit about your journey into ultra running. Did it start like the classic 5K, 10K, half marathon?
Not really, no. So I got to about, I was approaching my 30th birthday, and I'd just given up smoking to start a family. I played football for a long time, and then I obviously stopped doing that. I was always quite good at running at school. So I used to do, like, every time sports day, I was in events. I seemed to always come second at cross country at school. And I used to do the inter-schools cross country and things like that. We were encouraged to play football or rugby or cricket at school. No one ever said join an athletics club. So we never had that maybe that was a good thing, so I didn't burn myself out when I was younger. But I basically started running when I was about 30 years old, and that was the first I went into it. I was overweight. I was about 16 stone, I think. My operations manager at XMiles, Steve Way, who is the prime fat guy to thin guy to back to fat guy again, as we joked with each other. So we have we have this whole thing of that's kind of, his kind of story is a little bit a copy of his in some ways, that I got into running because I wanted to have a family and I wanted to be fitter. I gave up smoking, I started doing that, and I did a 10K run and did quite well considering how unfit I was. My addictive personality of the reason why I used to smoke and everything like that turned into a running one where I kept on seeing these improvements and kind of going forward. Then encouraged by people like Steve and other people in the community, I basically went straight into marathons off the back of that. So I did the half marathons and 10Ks and things like that, but I was never overly quick at the short stuff.
Did you suffer from injuries without that sort of like background of running, or did you?
Not really. I had a little bit of knee problem and the IT band stuff. I quite quickly got into a routine of seeing a lady called Jenny that was a chiropractor, but she also used to compete at English schools level for in hurdles and went through, and she was kind of competing at the highest level at that stage. So she had all that background of what it's like to be training for stuff. So I used to just see her every month, and she used to just find stuff before it happened. I did that for the next 10, 15 years to make sure that I just book in and see her and get and she'd either
sort me out,
click my back out, or sort my legs out, or things like that. So I then joined the running club and did the bits like that, and I've been through a few local running clubs as we kind of go through training groups. I was running with the guys from Bournemouth a lot more at the end because they had a really good marathon group. So we all used to end up at the prom, and then I was running for a different club. So then I joined their club.
Fast guys, the Paul Navesey area where there was you were all smashing it.
But we've got we had a local group which was called the Tremolo Track Club, which is basically a road loop that turned into a running club of kind of like-minded people the same age. There's probably 25 of us, and they were all running between 2 hours 25 to 2 hours 45 for the marathon. So everyone, and you just run around the circles every night and do like 30 miles and training runs and things like that. So.
The poor old Dorothy out walking her dog must have been like, where are these people running from? They're all running so fast. What would you say then? You're being quite modest about your running career, so I'll pull some stats out for you. What would you say? What's your highlight looking back now of your running career?
Comrades and the World Championships. I think
World Championships 100K
World Champs.
Yeah.
When I first ran 2:30 for the marathon, and then managed to get that down a little bit further and go under 2:30, and those things always stand out. Usually because my kids were there or my wife was there or something like that, which is always kind of a nice a nice situation to be in, and makes you feel great. But obviously very lucky to get a chance to run for Great Britain. Obviously we did England as well, things like that. But the World Championships had everyone there, so from all the countries, and the world record holder and things like that. I was lucky enough to come 8th, and I was lucky enough to win.
Not lucky, you were incredible.
M40 and things like that, and just have what seemed to be the best race that I had at that stage, which was, I guess, I never used to go off too fast. I was told by I was lucky with like Steve and Jez Bragg and a friend that live in my local area that they'd done it before and done it many times. They just said you don't have to keep up with the people in front of you. You know how you can run. You just do your own thing, and they will come back to you after 40 miles or things like that. And it always kind of seemed to happen. And every time I ran 100K, I ran it faster. Maybe I should have carried on doing them. But,
what prompted retirement? Had you just had enough?
2018, I did the 100K, and then because of my connections with obviously Steve, who'd done Comrades and Gerda, I managed to get on Nedbank team to do Comrades marathon. So that was one thing I wanted to do. And then I went there. We did a big training camp in France. Me, Steve, Gerda did 3 weeks in the Alps beforehand. I struggled with certain aspects of my training out there, very fatigued, but actually trained really well and was really fit. And I thought have a really good race. I ended up I had Epstein-Barr virus. I didn't know about it until the morning of the race. You know, when you're sat in the hotel and you've got a half an hour before the race and your nervous energy, you can't do anything to go forward. Well, I fell asleep because I was so tired. But we basically started the race, and within 150 yards, my trainers didn't fit anymore because my feet had swelled up and then my legs swelled up. So then you couldn't see any difference in my legs from my thighs down to my ankles. It was just one big trunk. So there was no definition for my knee, for my ankles, everything. So my whole leg swelled up, and I basically just stopped. Stood by the road, had a cry.
Too right. Oh, no.
Yeah, and then I jogged for 10 miles because that was the first point I could see someone. So I got to Polly Shorts, managed to get a lift back to the finish line, and that was basically comrades for me. So that was quite a big thing, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. Obviously, that was a little bit worrying. So after the event, flew back to the UK. I was still totally kind of knackered. I couldn't do anything. I went for a walk with my wife to the cafe, and I was exhausted. So I went to the doctors. They did blood tests, and then I went into work, and within an hour they called me back and said, we'd like you to go to hospital.
Tell me a bit more about the virus. It's not a sort of like...
So it's like glandular fever. So glandular fever, it's the same as Mark Cavendish had. They said that I've had glandular fever when I was younger. So I've had this before, and the virus is in my... So this virus, but I didn't know about it when I was younger. So the virus is in my system. Epstein-Barr is a strain of that kind of goes forward. And normally it's, as much as I'd never want to admit it, it probably has something to do with overtraining or something. And because I've got the virus within me that I've had it before, it obviously took hold. But because I was so fit and because I was training so well, the virus wasn't allowed to take control of my system until I tapered. And as soon as I stopped and let it go, basically the virus took hold. And that's why my legs swelled up. And my legs... I had meiosis in my legs, which is basically where the muscle enzymes break down and they don't rebuild within the 24 hours that they normally do. They were basically taking 3 weeks to rebuild. So every time I ran, I was breaking them down even more. So basically the swelling. So I was in hospital for 2 weeks. And I had all things, and they finally worked out what it was after saying we don't know what it was. But they said it was, I was having CT scans of it, and they were just going, well, there's nothing of you. There's muscle bone. It doesn't
and
seem to be
some meat
anything.
and a bit of cheese.
Yeah, nothing really, anything to go forward. And then they worked it out. And then I basically had 7 months I had to have a blood test every week. And until my muscle enzyme level in my blood was below a certain number, I wasn't allowed to jog. So I wasn't allowed to do any exercise that would trigger it until they were happy it got to a certain level. When it got to a certain level, then I was allowed to start running or doing some exercise again. And then they practiced it again. And once they were happy it wasn't going back up, they basically gave me the all clear that I would go forward. I still get a little bit now with stress and with work and things like that. The symptoms of that come back. So it's obviously still there in my system. I thought that was the end of running at that stage of competing running, but then COVID happened at the same time. So then I used to do a 10-mile run with the dog every day and kind of got the love for it back, and thought, after that I had the opportunity then to go back to comrades and do it again. That was 4 years ago, and I'm 49 this year, so that was kind of ending up being this is probably the point where after this it's going to get a bit harder. I did try to do the year after start training again, and I beating myself up in the rain running down the road thinking I've got to be at work, I don't know why I'm doing this, I can't hit my times, and I just went, actually I don't need to do this anymore.
Shall I tell you what you need to do? You need to take a right off that road and up that trail and come to trail running.
I think that was always the problem with road running and things like that. They were always about a time. The one thing I liked about comrades was because it was so up and down, you weren't actually set to go that kind of pace or that time. But training for a marathon or a fast marathon is the same as training for 100k. It's consistent. You don't get a chance to stop and sort yourself out and have a word with yourself. You kind of got to keep going, haven't you? So
Did you get the was it the Wally Harewood medal? Was that the second time?
So when I went back and to be honest, I kind of had it felt like the art I trained well, went into it, didn't have any niggles, and just felt like I had the best race that I did. I was very much told what to do by Steve and the guys here that, I was running to heart rate then, so I didn't have anything on my watch to say pace or anything like that. I had the heart rate, so I was going up the first hills, and I was letting people were running past me, and I was thinking, oh, this is gonna be a long day out. I know I'm in 144th place now or something like that, and then the next hill I was in 200th place and things like that. They all start coming back, and if you feel good on those hills when everyone else is not feeling good, it definitely makes you feel better. So had an amazing race. I was set out to do sub 6 hours. I did it by seconds, but I was running around the stadium knowing that I'd done it. So that was a nice thing. First European, which was nice, and so first non-African and things like that. So and the event's so big, you treat it a little bit like a superstar just for being in that first group of people and things like that. So it was a nice way to kind of sign off in terms of that sort of big event at the end of it.
Yeah, it's a big deal.
Gary, you a bit tempted with comrades? You'd be good at that.
I would love to do it. It's just logistics. Amazing. I'd want to do well within my age group, and I just know what that involves.
Yeah, and that's the thing, it's the commitment to do it. But I would say it is iconic for a reason. You're running 90k and the roads are packed. All the way, and you're starting like 4:00 in the morning, and the roads are packed at 4:00 in the morning. People cheering.
Oh, it sounds wild. I remember listening to Marathon Talk, and those guys, Tom and Martin, used to love it. So, my goodness me, definitely there's a seed being planted. So, which would you say was the best? Do you have an up year and a down year? Which would you, if you could do them both, which one would you pick?
I did a down year in Epstein Barr, so I did an up year and came.
Down year, you got the swelling, year.
Even though they're up and down, they're not really. There's so much up and down in both of them and things like that. I think that one thing that I never realised was you're running down like a highway, and the whole highway is cambered like that. You're running at like 20-minute miles down these highways on your own, and thinking this is going to destroy me very soon because one of my legs is up here, one of my legs is up, and you're absolutely kind of thinking, well, this is I've got to be running faster.
You have got to run fast down that, because it's going uphill in a minute.
Yeah, especially when you're running to heart rate, because you're looking at your watch again. Well, I need to push harder because I'm not going fast enough.
How much climbing is there in it? Is it like 2,000 meters, or is that?
I think I can't remember off the top, but there's proper climbs.
But they're relentless, aren't they? It's not like you think, 100k, 2,000 meters, like as a trail runner, we'd be like pretty flat that.
Yeah.
But on a road and the steepness, and it's just never stops. You're not getting a climb of 500 meters and then it's like up, down, isn't it?
Even the first bit, it's net up on the first half, and you just feel like you're climbing all the time. When you get it down and you're running down the camber, and you're thinking like that, well, I'd prefer a nice down than this.
You're not selling it. Gary was initially a little bit, and I was like,
I'm not doing it, but it is definitely worth it.
Let's pivot to now. We've ticked off your running career and pivot to XMiles, who very kindly, we're going into our second year now of amazing podcast sponsorship. This is my one question that I really wanted to ask. Where does the name XMiles come from, and what does it mean?
Right. Okay. It has a couple of kind of meanings, and there's kind of things. So the simple answer is that X means anything, and miles is miles. So it doesn't matter if you're running 1 mile or 100 miles. X is your thing.
That. Okay.
That is kind of the very short version of it. Also a smaller domain name and things like that. The kind of the longer story of it is my nephew's got Fragile X syndrome, which is where the X chromosome is damaged and you have an X and Y chromosome. So you have muscle movement challenges and other challenges in life can go from things. So I used to do a lot when I first started running. I used to do a lot of raising money for Fragile X syndrome and things like that. So there was a little bit of how to bring the X into when I was rating it to try and kind of bring it together for what I was doing before and bits like that. That was some of the reason why I was kind of thinking X is a nice thing because it brings back to the stuff that I was doing to help his charity and things like that, and then trying to make it logically, X has got to mean something, and then in maths, kind of X is whatever. So then it's kind of XMiles.
Where did the idea of the business come from? Were you the like, oh, I love a gel, but I also love this bar, and
No, not at all. Actually, it was kind of the other way around. So I used to work in IT, and I always kind of like dabbling in websites and things like that. So that was kind of one thing. But the actual idea of XMiles came about was the fact of when we were competing 16 years ago or something like that, you couldn't actually buy anything. You had to go and buy a box of gels, and you bought 24 gels of one flavour. You took your first gel out and tried it, and you went, "Oh, bloody horrible that is." And then you used to kind of give those to someone. You're something like you're like 60 quid in, and you haven't actually found anything that you like and things like that. And I kind of had that thought in my mind. There must be an easier way. Like, you go to a newsagent and you could buy a chocolate bar. Surely we can replicate something like that to kind of make it easier. And the idea always was, if I'm doing a half marathon, I probably want a couple of gels. I want an energy drink, maybe a Beat It shot or something like that. So like 5 products, and I shouldn't need to spend £120 buying 15 Beat It shots, a box of gels, a box of energy, or a bag of energy drink. I basically wanted to make it so if you were doing an event, you could buy just what you needed without having to spend through the earth. And then if you did well and want to do another event, you come back again and do that. So it was more about kind of just say, I've had a background in customer service and things like that. You've got to make it easy for people to kind of be able to try things and do things. So the idea was always a bit more variety and make it easier for people to say running was supposed to be the cheapest sport to do and things like that. But as soon as you started to then compete at it, it started to become expensive like everything else. So just to try and kind of dumb it down a little bit to make it easier to buy your nutrition.
When did you make the leap from your normal job to then go home to the family and go, by the way, these gels I leave everywhere, I'm going to start selling these?
I had a good IT job and I worked in IT. The company I was working for were getting sold. The division I used to run.
Your life has had pivots that you wouldn't have wanted, but like I love the story of this.
Yeah, so the division I used to run was getting kind of shut down as because the bigger part of the business was being sold different ways. Nikki was working part-time as a teacher at that stage and worked out that we basically had enough money to kind of, if we basically just ate baked beans on toast and pesto pasta, I didn't really need to earn anything for 3 years.
Okay.
We could basically just get by with not doing anything extravagant. So I had this idea, and I kind of put a little business plan together, and I discussed it with my dad, who's done stuff in the past and things like that, and he basically just said, "Well, why don't you try it? You've nothing to lose." I was still going for job interviews and things like that, and going forward. So I was lucky enough that I had the skills to be able to set up the website and not pay anyone to develop it. So it's developed over that time. Over the 10 years we are where we are now by pushing that progress. But I basically said I worked over 3 years without taking anything.
That's what I was going to ask.
So,
I was going to ask, it's a bit like the podcast, is that we worked in the background for 3 years, really, didn't we? Without and you just have to believe in what you're doing. Well, we never did it we just did it because we loved it. We still do. It's amazing. Yeah. Trust the process, as we always say.
Yeah. And then you've got to employ people because you can't do everything yourself. And then you start paying other people again. Thinking, it'd be nice to be paid like they are.
So tell me about, like, you mentioned Steve, and I remember Steve Way a lot. He was so prolific when I was racing fast. Tell me about like the XMiles team.
So I've got a great team, and actually most people we've had a few kind of in the fulfillment side that have come and gone, and we use temps for that at the moment. But I've got a great lady called Hazel she was basically employee number one.
Good. I hope she has a mug with that on.
Yeah. And she still does a lot of, fulfillment supervisor stuff and kind of knows everything, how things work and bits like that. So she's been from day one. I've got Matt, my marketing manager, who's...
Yeah, we know Matt.
Don't know what I'd be able to do without him now. But he contacted me via LinkedIn during COVID because he did a marketing apprenticeship, worked in a coffee shop making posters, and just emailed me and said, "Can you do this?" And I gave him a couple of hours work, and it grew and grew and grew. And he's been here for all that time, and a few other very key people without kind of naming everyone in the team.
Yeah.
In that first 3-year patch of creating XMiles, Steve worked for Power of 10, importing all the results and race results and things like that. Mm-hmm. So I used to work with Steve on weekends and evenings, importing race results into Power of 10 to subsidise my...
Oh my God.
You
must have really wanted to subsidise. What time? Whatever. 38:45, she's fast. Let's just put that.
Exactly, doesn't matter. my time's not right on the thing. What did she run? I said, oh.
I knew,
yeah,
my goodness.
Yeah. We had these conversations over those 3-year period of saying, and he said that, he goes, if that works out, that I want to stop doing this, because we would like Power of 10. You work in the evenings and weekends. That's the only time. That's when the results came in.
That. I never thought about people putting those numbers in. I just thought it would be an automatic.
Trying to import park run details, and it never used to be fully automated. It used to crash every week, and I used to be mending spreadsheets with with Steve and things like that. And like he did it full time. I just did a few hours a week, and it would be enough to pull my hairs out. But it was good because like we're trying to create a company that's with runners and actually working on another platform that has runners. It definitely had some benefits and things like that. So when we're in a position that I could offer Steve a role, and Steve used to work.
He's like, thank you so much. No more Power 10, please.
Was there a moment, Anthony, that you thought, wow, yeah, we're onto something here?
I always thought it was a good idea, and every year it got a little bit bigger, and it kind of pushed on. Definitely during COVID I reckon fast forward us about 3 years, just the fact of we were still we were a food shop, so we could stay open. All the other running shops, cycle shops, stopped doing nutrition because it was all going out of date, so there wasn't anywhere to buy it. So we definitely kind of had a growth there. We had a few copycat companies that came after we created that. We either acquired their databases when they shut, or they just went by the wayside. So no one else kind of really did it. I would say, even up to a few years ago, when I would say actually now I feel like I can possibly think about trying to get a mortgage. Trying to get a mortgage.
Build your house.
An energy gel is £1.20. So you've got to sell a lot of energy gels to employ people. And
no school shoes yet. We need 5 more. You got to buy the Mortons. Come on, everybody.
Come on, buy small school shoes. Right. In reality of it is a lot more challenging than think, make it really simple for people to buy things. And then someone puts an order in for £4.50 and you're like, that's not really, and you're trying.
Sorry, Anthony, that was me.
And you're trying to do everything else. But, as you get, as we've grown the order volumes of things, then we can have better conversations with couriers. So then we can make it easier to compete with Amazon, because we can do next day shipping, we can do locker delivery. So every time you get a little bit bigger, you can do more stuff. But we pride ourselves in the fact that we do everything here. We do all the fulfillment here, we do all the marketing here and everything like that. So we own the whole process. So if we want to change something, we can do it straight away. And and if someone rings up and says my nutrition hasn't turned up, my race is on Saturday and it's Friday, I can say, well, I can get it to that locker. I know how important it is. I can get it to that locker or to you by this time on that day. And they're like, it's either thank you very much or no, it's not. But we understand that. I think if you go to somewhere like Amazon and things like that, you're not. They haven't got the whole thing. If someone we know that London Marathon's this weekend, we're not going to go home early if we've got orders to get out.
So who's packing the orders? Like if you do get I want 2 Beta Fuel gels, I want 2 Morton gels, I want some squirrel nut butter, and I also want a new watch. Is there robots or is it you going?
No. So it's semi-automated. So it never used to be. I'd say if you come like 16 months ago, someone used to pick them, someone used to look at the list, make sure that the products are right.
I see them in Tesco's when I think that's almost worse than Power of 10 inputting, the people doing your Tesco shop.
So now we've kind of semi-automated. Everything's barcode scanned. So when an order comes through, we could barcode scan the invoice. That brings up on an iPad on the wall what products are in there. Every product is, you scan the barcode and it basically matches the barcode on the product to the order on the system, and then it basically makes a nice noise when the order's complete. So you know that you haven't put a caffeine gel in instead of a non-caffeine gel, which is a mistake. Which was a mistake we used to make, because when you're sending out that many orders for London Marathon and someone orders a PF30 gel, the PF30 caffeine gel and non-caffeine gel don't look much different.
No, they don't, do they? And then they take it. And then
the system automatically knows which shipping courier they've requested, DPD, Royal Mail, things like that. They scan the order and the label comes out. There's very few touch points. The main touch point is that someone goes around a warehouse and picks 10 orders at a time and it says what rack it's in and things like that. So they're picking things. So we've
So
got
someone is judging your order when they go, my God, this person is.
Oh yeah. What are you doing with that many?
So how do you pick what products to stock? I don't know. I could be there with Gary's invented a new nutrition product, Heavy Flex, 40 grams of carb per gel.
Oh, 90, 100 grams, 100 grams.
How then do you decide what hits the shelf?
There's a big element of listening to podcasts and things like that. There's obviously a buzz in America sometimes from American products before they come over. Then we try and engage with that brand and bring them over to the UK, and then we have a little bit of exclusivity with that brand that we can work with, and makes us stand out as a thing. But also, you get good word of mouth and things like that. Other things, people send us stuff, and we try and we've got enough people here to try it. I've got enough friends, and we've got an ambassador team, and we've got a performance team that we can send products to and get them to try them, things like that. And then we kind of tend to stick with we take a gamble on some stuff, as long as it all adds up and it's not and it doesn't show any nasty kind of red flags. We tend to kind of say, well, let's everyone have a choice. Let's just put all the information that we can on the website. Let's talk about it. Let's do enough videos and let people have a choice, and then let them buy one gel.
Well, because when you're running with people, you'll see someone taking a gel that you'll go, oh no, that tastes disgusting, and they're like, I love it.
Yeah, exactly.
It's so hard. It's so important to have a range, and runners are picky. We don't care about what we eat on a normal day. We'd be happy with sausage, mash and beans every day, but gels, everybody is has that and everyone's different as well.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Has there been anything that's ever come past your desk and you've thought nobody's going to buy that, but it just totally surprised you and was really popular?
Well, like broccoli sprouts at the moment with Nomino.
What is that going on? I don't think I could get that down my throat.
So we've had to buy bigger fridges now to store Nominos.
Okay, I'm going to need to try some of this, maybe live on the podcast.
And there's things like that. It's things like bicarb and bits. We're currently talking to. We obviously sell more to bicarb, but we're also talking to fast carb at the moment, which should be launching in the next week or so. Things like Beat It's been around for years, and it works. We've got over 3,000 SKUs and over 100 different brands, and there's just we've got people contacting all. It just seems at the moment there's always someone with a new product or a new flavor or a new brand that they want us to try and things like that. And we try and be fair and try do it all, and give them the same access to be able to just get their products available to see. Luckily, we've got a really big customer base and lots of people that buy.
Someone will eat that broccoli. Don't worry, we can get rid of it.
Yeah, so it's got, and also you've got to take the opportunity to sometimes, because you want to, you don't want to miss it. We've got a performance team, which is what we see is athletes that are kind of really trying to do this full time or trying to do it going forward, and we're trying to help support them by giving them an allowance.
Fuel is expensive. If you maybe you're working part time but you're training 20 hours a week and you need fuel, it's hundreds of pounds.
So we're just saying try it, use it, and talk honestly about it, and kind of explain why it's helped you or things like that, because that's actually what we want the story to be. We don't want people to be going, try this because it's the best product in the world, and then and it isn't, and it needs to kind of prove. So it's great, and we hope that the fact that people can try different things and talk about it, then that's the reason why they'd be a good ambassador, because they want to try stuff and tell people what they think of it and what if they like it or not, rather than we're not looking for a certain sort of person and things like that.
We have a question from one of our patrons, Eleni Laybourne Strong. I've Googled that. It's Greek origin and it means sun ray. That's beautiful.
Oh.
Anthony, if you could only eat one thing for a 100 miler, what would it be?
You ever run 100 miles, Anthony?
No.
Oh, shame on you. What a disappointment.
Not really a run, is it? Because you stop at an aid station.
Touché, my friend.
One thing, that's really difficult. I would say a high carb energy drink, because would tick everything. I would be able to do it on that. I run 100k on just an energy drink, and it worked. My best races I've run with a little bottle of condensed energy drink, high carb energy drink, with either a gel or a pack of chews on the side of it, and supplement. I think I could do anything if I had a high carb energy drink with electrolytes in it. I could basically just
Rule
kind
the
of
world, basically.
go forever.
I like the idea of it, but it kind of messes with my head that some of the, I think it's, oh goodness me, what is the brand? Tailwind. They do a really high energy drink. It could be 90 grams of carb.
Yeah. I think the new one is it.
My head just can't compute that would fuel me because it's a liquid, but it's got 90 grams of carb. Like
anything is the what we talked about from day one of nutrition and things like that is if you wait to take your nutrition, you're gonna have a problem. You take your nutrition, you start taking nutrition before you start running or cycling, things like that, you will be okay. And if you continually take it, you go forward. So I know that if I start taking a high carb energy, sipping it from before I start the race to when I start running to going forward and sip it continuously, I will never feel hungry or I will never run out of energy as long as I'm taking enough carbs in within the hours. If you ever feel like you've had a benefit from nutrition or go through it, it's usually because you've taken it too late, because you're only going to get a spike if your body started to go down, that it needs to get lifted up.
I love that.
It is great, and it is great, and a shot of caffeine to wake you up or something like that is certainly. But in very logical terms,
and your blood sugar.
If you can keep it level, you can basically go forever.
There is something about, though, being in a horrible hole and like being like and having a gel and then just being like suddenly feeling on top. It's a bit of an addictive feeling. It's a hole. We're not advocating digging yourself into that hole, but it is, if you've ever been in that hole and then you've used nutrition to pull yourself out and you feel within like 10 minutes, you've had like a handful of Haribo or a gel or whatever, and you suddenly think, oh my God.
Hopefully, you learn a lesson and don't dig yourself in a hole
again.
again.
That every long run. I'm not taking my gel yet. I'm saving it. It's £3 that gel, and then I'm like, take it, and then I'm like, oh.
I've got some horror. Yeah, I did early London Marathon. I think I did 3:01. I think I took 8 gels, and I was throwing up for 3.5 hours. I said, I'm throwing up for longer than I was running for. So as soon as I finished, I was pale white. I sat down, everyone was going, he doesn't look right. And literally all the way home, I was throwing up into a bin bag must have just ripped the inside of my stomach. But never use that product again, and then it's going forward. I won't name what the product is.
No, we're here for everyone.
Because they're still around. But it just didn't work for me. It works for lots of people.
No, exactly. Yeah. Gary and I we fuel very differently, and what works for him won't work for me, etc. So the XMiles website isn't just a like click and collect website. There's all sorts of things in there. There's an app, there's XMiles Plus, there's a nutrition planner, which Gary does every day to work out his. Tell us maybe about that nutrition planner, because I think that is great if people are just starting out or they're doing a new distance of a race and they have no idea.
That was something I always wanted to do, and it's quite tricky to do a nutrition app or nutrition planner when you've got so many different brands, because as soon as you start to go down the line of recommending products, you get to the problem with it. Like every brand goes, well, you shouldn't use our gel without using our energy drink. We're like, well, yeah, that's fine, but we need to be very kind of clear here that we're not going to tell someone to use your gel, because that gel might work for you and it not work for someone else. We want to be taking it back to what I was just talking about. I want to take it back to the fact of, if you take carbohydrate and electrolyte and the other things at the right times and in the right quantities, you should be able to run, cycle and that for a long period of time without having any problem. The key thing is that if you were doing a marathon and you've got 2 gels, you're probably going to have a problem. If you do, a big 100-mile cycle ride and only have electrolyte drink in your water bottles, you're probably going to have a problem coming to the end of that race. So the idea was, there's a very basic calculation that says, if you're male, female, if you're this height, if you weigh this much, we should be able to roughly work out that you need this much carb. So we basically built this calculation and turned it on its head. So rather than saying we're going to tell you which products to use, we basically said, let's have a wish list. So you've got a shopping basket empty. You've just told it your personal details. You're running a half marathon. You want to do it in 4 hours, and basically the tool will say, well, you need this many carbohydrates per hour. So then you start adding energy gels into your wish list, into your event thing, and it will basically show you how many carbohydrates you've got in your basket compared to your target for your race. So basically, if you add 5 gels in there and it thinks you should add 6, it will show up as red. You add the second gel and it will go green. You know you've got enough carbohydrates in the product in your basket to go forward. And then we split it out to say pre, during, post nutrition, and we are going to do some other bits with, other performance afternoon. But the idea is that it's a multi-brand tool, so you can put in your details, get a guide to how much carbs you need, and then you can add whatever products you fancy in there. And then if you get green colors on your numbers, basically you've got enough carbohydrates in your basket.
Yeah, I like it. I used it last year quite a bit, actually. It's not just like you've done it once. You can save all the different races, so you can go back and refer to it later.
Yeah. And you can save the races. You can save the list. You could basically build out all your races. We've just done the app, which is basically a cut down version of the website. We've taken out some of the banners that you don't need to be there to make it easier to kind of browse products. But the nutrition calculator works much better on the app. Being an app, once you've signed in, you don't have to re-sign in each time. So every time you go in there, you can just open up a list, add products to it. So the app's designed to help the nutrition planner be more easily used on a tablet or on a phone and things like that. So hopefully that kind of the main thing is you're not having to log in each time and do all the other stuff. So it makes it a little bit easier to navigate.
Yeah, Sandy, it's very good.
Oh, I'm dreading asking this question, Anthony. So we ask our guests every week to inspire our listeners for a little workout that they can cut and paste, or most people create it, so they recreate it so that it fits their running style. But what was your favorite workout, or is maybe still your favorite workout that we like? That is a good one. We always like a really horrible, nasty one.
I talked about our marathon group that we had to go for.
This is what makes me scared.
We used to have a Wednesday or Tuesday night workout. So there was basically a 12-week plan, but every Wednesday was a brutal session. They were all basically the same thing. So Steve had created them. I think he had created them with Liz Yelling at some point when they had been trained together, because Liz used to run sometimes on the prom, and they did lots of bits together. There was some quite nasty ones in there, like there was 4 times 15 minutes. So basically the idea was three or four park runs with a 2-minute gap. So and we used to do this on park run morning as well, when we used to do basically 3 times 15 minutes with a 2-minute recovery. We used to go down to Pool Park, we used to run park run route, and then you used to have a 2-minute kind of rest. Then you used to do park run as fast as you could inside the thing. Mm-hmm. And then as soon as park run finished, you stood there for 2 minutes, and then you used to do it again, depending on what stage in your training were. But we were basically trying to run sub 18, sub 17 minute, 15-minute park runs back to back. Yeah. But those sessions were very repeatable on those days. So we used to have like 30-minute marathon pace, then we used to have 5 times 5-minute threshold pace, and then 30-minute marathon pace. Every year we used to run this same spreadsheet of things that you used to just go through, and we used to just look back at the previous year
like
to
a
see
copy
how
of that spreadsheet. I'd pay good money for that spreadsheet.
I would say 45-minute to an hour and a half session. You used to absolutely dread going there on a Wednesday night, and then at the end of it you used to feel absolutely broken, but really amazing because you had completed it and things like that. And there used to be like 15 of us running around these roads doing it together and bits like that. And it was a great, if you were doing it on your own, it would have been really, really kind of. And I did do it when I did World Championships. I did them I did some with Steve, but mainly on my own, because it was in the summer. You didn't have that kind of
that marathon
spring marathon and things like that. But basically, running in the dark for that amount of time and going forward. So a big interval session was always my preference.
So I would say pulling a session out, if you're listening thinking, I'm not doing 3 by 15.
I'm not doing that.
I'm not doing that. But I do like, and I do this a lot with my athletes. I love especially older athletes as well. I think this works really well. It's like a 15, 20 minute steady tempo, then a little bit of a session, 5 by 5 minutes or 3 by 5 minutes, depending on where you are, and then back into a steady tempo. And the work that's done on that 10, 15, 20 minute steady tempo at the end, that's where the magic is. It means you can do a lot more at that sort of effort, at that heart rate, than if you did 10 by 5 minutes, where you would end up, the injury risk is a lot higher, whereas actually you probably end up doing about the same amount of work. And mentally, it's easier to face a session like that.
Yeah, so we used to do marathon pace for the 2 big sessions either side. And obviously earlier in the plan, you were doing it, marathon effort rather than marathon pace. So more heart rate driven. Yeah. So you could be running those first 30-minute sessions, or they built up as well. So we would done 15-minute, 2 minutes, and then 15-minute, and then 20. Those big sessions would, by the end of it, would be a hell of a lot quicker than the first ones that you would do, because you got so much fitter through the things. I think if you take things back to marathon effort rather than trying to run marathon pace,
because we can't run marathon pace apart from when it's marathon day.
No, and you can't run marathon pace until you're ready to run marathon pace. So it does build up, and I think that's one of the big things that I was kind of helped me was that when I worked out my marathon heart rate, I could basically run through. And one of the we did a session where when you first start running, before you even start your plan, is you basically did a flat marathon heart rate session and a hilly marathon heart rate session, and you did it for like 8 weeks before you started to run things. So it was only 2 times a week, and it may have only been like a 6-mile loop. By the time you finished those 8 weeks, you were running so much faster than you were going forward, and especially the up and down one, because you had to run slow when you were going up the hills and fast down hills, because you weren't allowed to go over your heart rate. So when you were struggling to go up the hill, you basically felt like you were walking, and then when you were going down the hills, you felt like you're sprinting, and then the next week you're doing the flat one, you felt brilliant because you were running at an easier pace. But then by the end of that 8 weeks, you were basically ready to start a proper marathon.
I love a pre-marathon
this
build.
Is great.
I love this. I also love a repeatable session. I've done that since December the 3rd. I'm very proud of myself that I have built this one session that I've done every single week. And like you, it's awful. And I start it and I gaslight myself when I start it every time, going, you're not going to do the full thing today, are you? No, you don't need all that. But I love something
to tell each other that as well.
Yeah, should we not? Should we not? No. Yeah. No, we're not going to do it. Yeah, got to go a bit easier today. Yeah, go a bit easier today.
Or if someone did a really good session, you told them they peaked too early and they've got it.
There's magic in that repeatable sessions that you can see the progress. It doesn't all have to be smokes and mirrors and new sessions.
I love the benchmark sessions too, though. I've never thought of doing that. I've never done it.
You do the 10 mile every week, Gary. You do 10
No,
mile
but I've never done a
mile.
session at the beginning of a training block and then repeat it again.
Just compare your Strava segments.
Well, I've never really mindfully picked a route to do that. So
okay, next time.
We used to do everything on the same route. So the repetitiveness was horrible, but but you can clearly see, if you go and do a different run, a different course, you've got no real idea how it compares to something before, and it doesn't really matter to lots of people. But no. I guess when you are trying to kind of push a PB or something, really, push that kind of top end of your ability, that's when you can really kind of gauge how well you're doing, because you can kind of compare it to something that's exactly the same.
Yeah, I love it. Malaga. Nailed it. I'm going to do that for Malaga.
I think you need that spreadsheet. We'll pay for it.
Pay for it. Well, I'm sure I can find it.
But we've got a few more than 5. Okay, your life took a different path. So go back to your 24-year-old self. You're a professional footballer whose stock is high. Portsmouth have offered you the big bucks. But the next game is against Southampton. Would you sign?
No.
Love it. I couldn't do it.
You're much better than my kids. They're just like, yeah, sign, mum.
If anyone seen me play football, then no, that was never going to
We were giving you the dream.
Yeah. I know, even with the dream.
Even though Newcastle's fortunes for the past 20 years probably have been much more successful than Sunderland, I just don't think I could ever pull on the black and white stripes. We're going to go back a bit more in time. 10-year-old Anthony, what did he want to be when he grew up?
I just want to be kind of happy. I never dreamt of being a professional sports person or anything like that. So I know, as much as I enjoyed sports and things like that, I always felt that I was good at lots of things. Didn't ever think I was going forward. I kind of, surprised myself with the running, how that changed later in life. But I never thought anything like that. But I was very lucky to have from my family, my parents, my grandparents, and things like that. They had these what seemed very nice lives. I just kind of hoped, I guess the thing of I'd like to be like that. Hopefully I've achieved that, because I've got three lovely kids, lovely wife, and and kind of
a cocker spaniel that needs to
and a
crop
cocker
in
spaniel
there.
and also doing the job that doesn't really feel like a job.
That you love.
If you're talking about running and gels and things like that.
It's the same as us, Anthony.
Drink.
We have to pinch ourselves to go.
I do dread doing end of month reporting and things like that. I couldn't really ask for much more than the kind of life that I seem to have carved myself out.
Oh, talking about dogs, is your dog allowed on the furniture? Upstairs and downstairs?
Oh, you're so judgy with that.
Yeah, so previously, no. Well, allowed on the furniture, but not allowed on the beds. And that may have been just because last couple of dogs have been a little bit nutty. It may not going forward, but as I said, we're building our house at the moment, and we've already kind of because we're staying at somebody else's house, the dog's in the crate in the room and things like that, with us at night time, things like that. We've already said that the dog's allowed to sleep on Florence's bed when we get back into the new house and things like that. Mabel, our cocker, is she's a lovely little dog, so she can do
anything she wants.
Yeah, well, our last dog, bless her, who lost her life to meningitis at the age of 4, had a habit of, when she was feeling poorly, stealing a sock and trying to eat it and then not bringing it back up, sort of thing. So that's why she couldn't be trusted to be left alone too much, because of the steroids and the chemo she was on and things like that.
Oh, bless, my goodness, man.
But yeah, definitely this one will be allowed to run around.
Is there still a bucket list race out there that you'd like to do?
Tokyo Marathon.
Have you done the other majors?
I've done loads of marathons, but I've not done any in America. I've done all Berlin, Paris, but I've done loads like Budapest, Barcelona, loads of European city marathons and things like that. But Japan is the one that
that'd be awesome. I know it's not a major, but yeah, I'd give a shout out to Paris Marathon. I had a blast when I did that. It was great.
I did my first marathon at Paris. I remember that I couldn't see for the last 300 meters because I was so done that I
cooked
to finish it. I always find that city marathons always funny that people go, "Oh, did you see the Eiffel Tower?" And I was going, "No, I didn't see the Eiffel Tower." They said, "Well, you ran right past it." I said, "No, I was looking at my trainers and the tarmac and saying, why can't I do this?"
Yeah. You would think they would be such a good sightseeing opportunity, but I don't see anything. No. Every week we share the podcast over on Instagram, and you get to choose what song we put to the post and the story. What's it going to be? What's on your playlist? What's the last thing you listened to, Eddie?
Oh, I had a good. I listened to music on my whole long run today. I was cooking. So
I'm subjected to Limp Bizkit all the time now, because that's all. As soon as I get in the car, my 19-year-old just puts his playlist on and things like that. I don't really get a choice of what I'm allowed to listen.
I've got Galvanized Chemical Brothers. Beat that one, Sutton.
This isn't the last one, but I really want to find it, because I was like, this is an incredible running song. This is not good podcasting.
See, I've never run with headphones in.
Yeah.
My biggest problem, but I'm dyslexic, so if you said so name that artist and name that band from playing the song, I wouldn't be able to tell you. But I can, I know I like listen when something comes on, I like that and things like that. But I'm so rubbish at remembering.
So what you're saying is we can
you can basically choose whatever you want.
We can pick a song. Oh. Dream. It never happens.
Well, I was listening to Dancing in the Flames by The Weeknd, which I really was enjoying. And I was running down like a farm track and I had it on too loud. This is bad. And I was like doing the dance moves and I didn't realize the tractor was behind me.
He'd be on their TikTok
I was doing
now.
Like the arms and everything. And I think he thought I was telling him like to slow down because I was really going for it.
Oh, brilliant.
He went by, he gave me a bit of a dirty look, and normally they're quite friendly. Anyway, okay, Gary, we leave you free reign for that and people will...
Okay. I'll do my best. Well, do you have like
I love a
particular genre?
Yeah, you could go
bit of Britpop. Okay, a bit of Britpop.
Okay, in the Britpop battle then, were you Blur, Oasis, Suede, Charlatans?
Actually, I'll tell you what I do like Gorillaz.
Okay, we got there in the end. It was quite painful, Anthony. I won't lie to you, but we've got a song in
Probably
here.
not the best bit of the podcast. We may have to fast forward a little bit of this.
Okay, I'll read my magic.
Or you should have told me to think about that.
I know. Normally I do. My bad.
Added pressure for me.
Anthony, well, you were natural. What a podcast. You talked beautifully. So, Anthony, thank you so much for coming on the podcast. So nice to see you again
pleasure.
after all the years.
Yes.
And thank you for all your support previously and going forward. And I really like learning a little bit more about the business. And when we put those gels, we'll be thinking of the barcode as we put all those gels into basket. Best of luck with everything in 2026.
Thank you.
Never be scared to take a right following that footpath up the trail. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. You mocked my 100-mile trail idea, but stopping at checkpoints and having a little hike and taking your time, there's beauty to be found in that as well.
I have done a few mountain marathons in the Alps and things like that. I have done them, but I do enjoy them. I probably should have
Let's
another
see.
go.
Let's see. Build your house first and put those new trainers on, and let's see where the next is.
Thank you so much for having me on. No, it's been really
Thank
good.
you. Cheers. Take care.